it's time to do some body work here. And I wanted to explain something that's going to save you guys money and aggravation if you're going to do one of these jobs this summer. Because I know a lot of people, you're not going to have money to take it to a shop or a guy like me, but you still need to get it done. I'm going to explain about, I did this deliberately. Okay, a lot of people just want to go on there with a sander. They don't know what the grit pads are, or you do, but they don't know how to use them because clogging pads cost you money. And a lot of guys would, when they're near finish coat like this, they would start with like a 80 grit. And this is the USG Featherite. And I don't necessarily think that's the proper name for it. It does feather. This mud's a lot more work than stuff like Chromolite. There's the XO muds that are out there. I don't favor Evercoat products. I favor U-Paul, especially their Featherlight, their version of it. I forget what it's called. That's called having gray hair, guys. That's a piece of 36 off the Air DA. Sticky back. It's not that sticky no more. See this? This is a low spot. Let me explain about my low spots, that this is only going to get as good as it gets. I laid the panel on top of the metal. Instead of trying to weld it in, this was bumped and it fell in because this inner structure, the inner fender well, was bell-shaped. And the only part that catches this for support is the bottom of that bell, which is no longer there. It's cut out. Then, because people are going to say, why didn't I use a larger panel? They're a pain in the ass. And they're a lot more money to put them on. This guy didn't even want to do the rockers, let alone. I had problems even getting panels that fit. But I had to go real high up on this side. There was a lot of metal. You go to try to pull that with a stud welder and cut it out. It ain't going to happen. Then you weld metal behind it like I did and try to pull that out. Then you're breaking welds or it's distorting with the welder because you got a different metal against a different metal. That happens. So this side for this man is only going to get as good as it gets. But I'm sure he's going to be more appreciative that I actually took some initiative and effort. Not much. He basically owes me for a bucket of mud, really, and maybe a little bit of time. I'm not, like I said, these guys are young. They got families. They got freaking kids. But the truck needed to be fixed. I'm even going to try to doctor up the bottom of the door over there for him as a consolation. I mean, these guys work, and they work. They've got a family to support. And a lot of times the vehicles end up being the victim because they don't have time. Now, it's going to get warm. He wants to tune it up. It does have a tick to the engine. I would suggest he checks, make sure all the rockers, everything's tight. Probably a bad lifter or maybe a rocker's getting worn through. These 5.7 Hemis, they're a dynamite engine. Now, he says he has like 250,000 on it. You can get more out of them. They're a tow rig, and this truck doesn't look like he's beating it. He looks like he's using it. Taking care of it, that gets to be a bit much. Now, let's get back to body work, okay? I break the glaze with 36. This is a glaze. The mud's fresh. You take anything less than a 36 grit to this, and you say 36. Oh my God, you gotta kind of practice. But that stuff in there is a clog, and you take an 80 grit, it's just gonna clog. You're gonna get about a minute or two of sanding, and the pad is useless. This takes that stickiness. I prefer body work in this weather. It does stay a little sticky, but not like it does. It actually stays stickier longer in the hot weather. How could that be? It starts drying inside out. In this arid, with the breeze, it's actually drying correctly. It's drying outside inward. And you're still going to get shrinkage. And that's why I said I can't worry too much. That's why I put that glob there. I'll probably go over that. It's going to get one more coat. I've got almost 5 coats of fiberglass. Yeah. And I've got now 4 coats of plastic, and this is going to get a skim. The other side turned out beautiful. The other side, like I said, this side was really, with the bumps and how high up it was rotted, this side was a problem. So I'm going to show you this technique. As soon as my hose, and then I wanted to show you that metal again. This is a nice hard mud, this USG. That's why I use it for stuff like this. Because when you have your inner supports and stuff welded in there, you don't want this cracking out right away for the customer. That's why I use it. Otherwise, I would have used stuff like Chromolite or the U-Paul Featherlight, stuff like that. This needs a little bit of rigidity. And as you can see, this is a worn piece of 36. If I put a fresh piece on, I'll be able to chop this down and I'll be able to basically smooth it. Now, I've worked for some, I could only describe them as pricks. You know, I was doing a 74 Charger once, and I'm working for a shop. You had to walk on eggshells with this clown I was working for. I mean, he was a circus clown. I told him the panel came with a wave in it. I wanted an extra hour or 2 on the job. I wanted to pull it with the stud welder, and then, you know, you lay a straight edge, which, like I said, that's what I'm explaining. This is straight, I can feel it. If you can feel a wave, or you feel something with your fingers, you're gonna see it when you go to paint it. And unfortunately, like I said, you might see those. White is a forgiving color over blacks, reds, blues. White is a very forgiving color. And like I said, he's just getting a repair, but a fancier repair. And we both agreed on that, especially with a truck. He doesn't know if he's going to keep it, but then at least he's going to get money for it because it doesn't look like it's shot. You know, somebody like me would look at this with the work already done. Depends on what he wanted for it, he'd probably get it. Now I have a rag on the camera here because we're getting wind noise, and I'm hoping it doesn't interfere with the video. Even a guy like me, I would put a motor in that then. I would get a crate engine, especially if he told me the trans is good, and I'll look at the drivetrain and I'll look at the frame rust. Somebody like me would buy it. I'd put a motor in it. So I don't think he's going to lose any money, at least at the sale of the truck. But I mean, what he's going to pay for the other one that he wants, you know, that's all these young guys. Here comes the gusts of wind. They got to stop playing with the weather. I just filmed a supersonic, probably it was like a B-1 bomber or something. It was going supersonic, super fast. I mean, it crossed the sky here, probably like 2 minutes. It crossed probably about 50 miles of sky. I mean, the thing was clipping. Okay, so 36. Once I take that glaze, the tack off, I will switch to 80 grit. Okay, and hopefully my rag on the camera worked. And then you can go down to your lesser grits. I just take it, I feel it with my hand. If it doesn't feel right to me, that's all experience you're going to have to teach yourself. But learning not to waste your materials, because you end up passing that cost on to the customer if you're wasteful. Okay, I'm going to run that, what's left of this pad, over this. Then I'll get another one, a fresh one. I'll run it over that, and then I'll look at these 2 areas here. These are critical bad areas right here. Okay, when you have a dent and a bump that bad, that caved in, as I said, you go trying to go on a stud welder, it's gonna walk in and out on you. You're gonna be using more and more filler. I mean, more than I did. I just took my time that it's gonna look presentable. His wife was skeptical about handing me money. I'm skeptical about handing anybody money, but I'm gonna do that. And like I said, I have everything cut for that bumper. And probably in my next video, I'll show you the rough out of the bumper. We'll weld it together that we can bolt it on. We'll take that down to the other shop with the truck and paint it. Like I said, I don't take people inside my space. Ever since these threats started with this anonymous stuff with the government, I don't know what's going on. All I know is you come here, you're going to end up paws up. My John Deere extender hoe goes down 12 feet. They ain't going to find you with LiDAR that easy. So y'all have a good afternoon. And think about if you're going to do a repair like this. If you're rotted really bad, you might as well surface mount your panel. And in a lot of jobs I do that. A lot of times the panels, they're not even made right when you get them. They're a lot more work than if you just would have replaced it. You would have been better labor-wise, time and money-wise if you just replaced the bedside. This would have folded in half like a cupcake, but this is double walled up here, up top. That's the reason. And the floor seems to be still in decent shape. But you don't want something like that, okay? It's one thing you don't want is for it to keep rotting. As he said, he's gonna sell it, contemplating, maybe use it another year or two. It's not a good year. If I was him, I'd keep it. This is not the economy to go buying anything. I'm wrapping my camera. Hopefully it's muffling this wind. It's not the time to go buying anything. And these new trucks, a truck was meant to be a tool for work. It was not meant to be a pinball freaking arcade with TVs and you know, if I had in my work truck, if I had AC and a freaking radio that played nice, you know, good speakers, that's all I want. I don't want all that other crap. And I don't want something minding my driving, sensors that jerk the truck when I'm not, you know, an old timer like me, I ain't putting up with that shit. I'll pull it all out of there. But my other decision is, I don't know if I could pull it all out of there. My decision is, I'm not going to buy that shit. Thanks for listening to my tips on the body work. You don't need cheese graters. You don't need all those fancy tools. In another place and time, if I was doing this like a show truck, I would have replaced the bedside, or I'd be out here with my my body boards. I checked it with a straight edge. I'm amazingly deadly with a shooting eyeball, so I can line all that up, and it's not going to be that bad. But your first job, you got to learn to pull your mud tight. You got to look for those pockets, and you got to learn that you're not just going to fill the pocket. You've got to fill with another coat. And I had a lot of years doing drywall, so I know how to float something, put a little more material there and leave it there. But then, like I said, it gets to be a challenge that you know, like what we're doing here. We're getting into an extra coat or two of mud. I'm trying to keep this rag over the camera. You know, you're going to get into a little bit of extra labor. It is what it is. It takes what the job takes it to do. And then we still got to wash this off probably tomorrow. It's going to get cleaned underneath there, so I can get some of my rust stuff on here for him. As I said, my message to him is I'm going to do the critical areas, because these trucks take 2.5 gallons. I only bought a gallon of this stuff, and I don't think he wants to pay for, you know, that much. But this is you know, a full crew cab. It's not a single cab truck, and it's never been coated before. Doesn't have much going for it other than it's still here. Still a decent, I like the truck myself. I want one like this. So thanks for watching my videos, and hopefully, like I said, I gave you some tips, okay, that'll save you money. You don't need to buy all kinds of tools. Good body boards, good luck today buying something like that. Even these DAs, they're not they're not worth the $50, $60 they're getting for them. But hey, China, they snap on. Most of the companies are almost out of business. Craftsmen, you know, now we got to deal with freaking China. Thanks for watching my videos, guys.